Welcome to the video. Today we'll uncover the hidden financial trap of co-signing an apartment lease and how it can derail your own rental application. We'll walk through liability, how debt-to-income math actually works, what landlords' screening systems look for, the difference between corporate and mom-and-pop owners, and practical alternatives to protect both your friend and yourself. Along the way, we'll use clear examples, diagrams, and a quick quiz to cement the concepts. Let's begin with an important disclaimer and then outline our agenda. Before we get into the details, please note this video is educational and not legal, tax, or financial advice. Landlord policies, screening systems, and applicable laws vary widely by jurisdiction and by company. If you are considering co-signing, you should consult an attorney, housing counselor, or financial advisor who understands your local laws and your exact financial situation. With that foundation set, let's quickly review what we will cover today. Here's our roadmap. First, we will examine the legal and financial responsibility you accept when co-signing. Second, we will break down the debt-to-income ratio and how adding a full rent obligation can disqualify you from your own lease. Third, we will compare how corporate property managers and independent landlords evaluate risk. Fourth, we will give you actionable alternatives and timing strategies. Finally, we will reinforce the material with a short quiz and wrap up with key takeaways. Let's start with liability. When you co-sign, you are effectively accepting the entire lease obligation. In many screening systems, it is treated as though you personally signed that lease. If the primary tenant misses a payment, the landlord is likely to come after you for the full amount due, including any applicable late fees, damages, or legal costs. While your friend or family member might have stable state assistance or disability income, that does not protect you from being pursued. Furthermore, this co-signed obligation will sit on your financial profile and can be counted as a current liability when you apply for your own apartment. In other words, co-signing today can directly reduce your ability to qualify tomorrow. With that understanding, let's examine how the numbers play out through the debt-to-income ratio. Now let's quantify the risk. Debt-to-income, or DTI, measures your monthly obligations relative to your gross monthly income. Large property managers often have automated screening rules that require your income to be at least 3 times the rent and also check that your total obligations fit within a stricter percentage threshold. When you co-sign, the screening model can count the full rent of that co-signed lease as part of your current liabilities. Consider this example. Your gross monthly income is $5,000. You want to lease an apartment for $1,600 per month. You are also co-signing an apartment for someone else with a rent of $1,500. Together, your exposure to rent is now $3,100 per month. Under a 3 times rent rule, the system may expect you to have at least $9,300 of income, which you do not have. As a result, you may be denied for the apartment you want. This is how a well-intended favor can prevent you from qualifying for your own housing. Next, let's visualize how the screening process actually treats your file. This sequence diagram illustrates the typical flow used by many corporate property managers. First, the applicant submits an application through an online portal. The portal retrieves credit reports, verifies stated income, and compiles known liabilities, which may include a co-signed lease. Next, an automated screening engine detects the co-signed obligation and models the full rent into the applicant's liabilities. The engine then applies rules, such as a 3 times income to rent requirement and an overall DTI threshold. Based on the calculations and any risk flags, the system returns an initial decision, such as approve, conditional approval, or deny. Finally, the landlord or property manager reviews the system's notes and flags before finalizing the decision. With this process in mind, let's compare how corporate managers differ from independent owners. Here's the practical difference. Corporate property managers tend to rely heavily on automated screening procedures. A co-signed lease typically appears as a significant risk factor, and standardized rules are applied consistently. Even if you offer context or explanations, policies may limit flexibility. In contrast, independent or mom-and-pop landlords may be more open to considering your full financial picture, including strong income, savings, or a clear explanation of why you co-signed. However, it remains a gamble because they also must manage risk. Even with flexibility, the co-signed liability could still tip the decision against you. Given these realities, let's shift to safer alternatives you can consider before agreeing to cosign. Before cosigning, exhaust local resources. Start by searching for city, county, or state rental assistance programs. Some offer direct-to-landlord subsidies, vouchers, or emergency aid. Next, explore guarantor services or insurance-style products that might stand in for a cosigner without tying your personal DTI to another lease. Consider community nonprofits or faith-based organizations that provide one-time rental assistance. Weigh the sustainability of any option. If you still choose to help, formalize boundaries. Put in writing any limits to your support. Define clear exit triggers if payments lapse, and avoid open-ended commitments. Finally, plan around your own housing timeline. If you expect to move within a year, recognize that cosigning now can materially harm your ability to qualify later. To make timing concrete, let's map the risk across a simple timeline. This timeline underlines that the risk is immediate and persistent. From the moment you cosign, screening systems can count the full rent against you. If a payment is missed or late, your exposure escalates and may spill into credit reports or collections. When you begin shopping for your own place later in the year, the debt-to-income impact remains active, and the additional liability can block approvals. Even at renewal points, the cosigned obligation can continue to interfere with your qualifications. Knowing these thresholds also helps. Let's look at common benchmarks you'll encounter. Here are common qualification benchmarks. Many landlords look for income at least 3 times the monthly rent. Total debt-to-income thresholds often range between 30 and 45%, depending on policy. Credit scores in the mid-600s to 700 or higher are frequently preferred. Demonstrating cash reserves equivalent to 1 to 3 months of rent can bolster your case with independent landlords, although it may not override corporate screening rules. Keep in mind that a co-signed lease can negatively impact each of these benchmarks. Now, let's test your understanding with a quick quiz. Quiz time. If your gross monthly income is $6,000, your target rent is $1,800, and you co-signed a $1,400 lease, which statement is most accurate under a 3 times income to rent rule? Option A. You still qualify because $6,000 is at least 3 times $1,800. Option B. You qualify because co-signed rent is only counted at 50%. Option C. You likely fail because $6,000 is less than 3 times the sum of $1,800 and $1,400. Option D. It does not matter. Co-signed rent is ignored by screening. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is that you likely fail because $6,000 is less than 3 times the total of your own target rent plus the co-signed rent. In this scenario, your total rent exposure is $3,200. At a 3 times multiplier, the screening system might expect at least $9,600 in income. Since your income is $6,000, you would not meet that requirement. This illustrates how adding a co-signed lease can quickly undermine your own eligibility. Ways. With the quiz complete, let's consolidate the key takeaways. Remember these points. First, co-signing generally places full liability on you. Second, automated screening often counts co-signed rent as a full recurring obligation, making 3 times income rules and DTI thresholds harder to meet. Third, corporate property managers tend to be inflexible, while mom-and-pop landlords may weigh your broader story, but the outcome is uncertain. Fourth, always pursue assistance programs and guarantor options before co-signing. Finally, if you plan to move in the next year, the risk to your own housing prospects is particularly acute. This mind map shows how co-signing risk branches into 3 major areas: financial strain through DTI spikes and failure to meet 3 times income rules, credit damage if payments are missed and collections occur, and housing consequences such as denials or only conditional approvals. On the mitigation side, there are practical paths. Leverage assistance programs, consider guarantor services, and plan your timing to avoid overlapping obligations. With the full picture in view, let's summarize and close out. To summarize, co-signing creates an immediate, measurable liability that frequently counts against you in landlord screening systems. Debt-to-income math can quickly disqualify you from apartments you otherwise could afford. While independent landlords may be more flexible than corporate managers, outcomes remain uncertain. Therefore, explore every assistance and guarantor option before accepting co-signer liability. If you must help, document boundaries, and protect your own move timeline. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, please like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more housing and finance breakdowns. I'd love to hear your stories and questions about co-signing, so join the conversation in the comments below.